Hey everyone, this is Adam at KreatureKid, and welcome to the creation of the Mystery Shack diorama. This is a huge piece that we've been working on for the past 5 years. I'm sure some of you have seen the progress throughout those years. We've kind of been throwing snippets here and there. This is it, we're finally done. So how this all started was we had finished the Grunkle Stan taxidermy head for Alex. And then shortly after that, he asked us, he said, I always wanted a small scale Mystery Shack, kind of like a model train display, right? So that's where it immediately kind of popped in my head. I mean, I've always wanted to do a diorama. I've never done a diorama. I instantly knew I wanted it to be a interactive piece.
It's gonna be in this glass case, and it's an I Spy game of like every character from the show.
I always grew up loving the I Spy books from the 90s. I have a horror I Spy book that's the haunted house, and in each room, it's a diorama with toys and things hidden within it. And then they take a photo, and that's the I Spy book. I was obsessed with those. Instantly, I went I Spy diorama. So since I hadn't done diorama before, and I knew I needed it to be over the top, it took me a while to just figure out, all right, how do I even get started on this? Obviously, I had watched the show a million times for the Grunkle Stan piece to educate myself on the lore and mystery and characters and stuff like that. So I was already familiar with the show, but it was getting familiar with the shack itself. The problem is in every episode, you see a different side of the shack. Things change. Window sizes are different. The patio sizes are different. Everything's off. So it was trying to figure out what's the ideal version of the shack. So to start out, we started building foam core representations of the shack, kind of just figuring out what the dimensions are, what feels small, what feels big. And then we went into building it, firstly out of wood. This was before I really started playing with the 3D printers. I had done a little 3D printing. In my brain, something just seemed to like, oh, well, we'll just build it out of wood. It's a miniature, like a train. And it was just a nightmare. It was terrible. Things weren't lining up. The wood, it was just taking too long, and it wasn't capturing the amount of detail that I needed it to capture. And I knew it would take me 10 years to try to get this thing done, especially like the tiling on the roof and stuff. It was a lot of like working on it, setting it aside, kind of mulling it over. This project we started before like KreatureKid was even a thing as far as the company. A lot of this I was kind of doing out of my mom's basement and my mom's garage. We were given our first movie job and we got our shop, and then we're busy working on the movie, and in the back of my mind, I'm always kind of just thinking, and like on weekends, I'm chipping away at Mystery Shack stuff. And it's just one of those pieces where I was like letting Alex know, like, hey, I'm still working on it, but I got this project. I'm focusing on that. But once that's done, I'm going to be cranking on Mystery Shack. And he was always like, it's cool. I know once you're done, it's going to be awesome. It just finally clicked. I was like, what am I doing? This should be all digital. This should be a digital sculpture where we could zoom in. We could sculpt this as if it is the size of a building. And then we just shrink it down and print it small. My first step was to go to Andrew Martin. He's one of my favorite digital sculptors. He's incredible at everything he does. So I went to Andrew and I said, we got to build the Mystery Shack. Andrew did the homework as well as me on, okay, he watched the show, I was refreshing myself on the show, and he started jamming on the Mystery Shack, figuring out like, stuff like the chimney. There's a square brick chimney in some episodes, and then there's a round stone chimney in some episodes. What's the best depth for the patio on the roof? So Andrew was working on figuring out what is the ideal version of the Mystery Shack. And at this time, I only had the Form 3 printers from Form Labs. So our print bed is really small. So we had to section everything up to be able to fit on those print beds. Now, it took Andrew a few months to finish sculpting the digital shack itself. And in the end, I think it came out beautiful. I think he really captured everything that needed to be captured as far as like the key windows, the key walls, felt like a good size. And he also did some of the props, some of the little accessories going on in there. Once the digital sculpture of the Mystery Shack is finished, then we got to 3D print it. So we started printing it in sections, and we started printing this out of just their gray standard, gluing those together and filling in the seam lines, since we have to section it up so much.
Yeah, that piece was already, I remember that. This print piece failed, see?
Yeah, it's a little...
This strip is supposed to continue, but this is the doorway to this.
Okay, so it gets covered.
And you can see the brick goes right there.
And then once our 3D printed components are all glued together, then it's the assembly phase. We can't go too far with building walls because we have to add lights in here. And we need to be able to open the roof to get into rooms. We need to install the windows. And then we need to install basically shadow boxes because you can't just like stick a light bulb in this house and have one light illuminating everything. They needed to be control of lights and brightnesses in each window without light spill.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit brighter on the second one. Too bright, turn down. A little bit more. Yeah, about there. Those match now, I'd say.
Found this like light system that was sold at our local train store, which is just plug and play LED lights, very small ones. And then they plug into this little box where you can control the brightness of each light. Our stained glass, it's all painted in reverse. And we also put a diffuser in front of it. So there's a point to where it's bright enough to illuminate the window. And if you go a little bit too bright, you see a hot spot of an LED. So it was kind of finding those happy places in each of the windows. Now, we also had hidden spotlights throughout the environment to kind of illuminate the mystery shack. We didn't want to like turn off the lights and you just see glowing windows. We wanted the shack itself to be kind of illuminated by, you know, something just enough to like make it visible with the lights off. So when we started getting into the painting phase, it was kind of a combination of, Alex said he wanted like a miniature train display where there's actual foliage, right? So then that grounds the environment into a somewhat more realistic reality than just straight from the cartoon. If our grass is electroflocked and we actually have physical bushes, then what is the level of detail in a tree to where it's like it looks like a real tree, but also like we don't want to stray too far from the show. We still want it to feel like it's from the show. For the trees, at least, like we did sculptural components like little cones, and then we could stack them and rearrange them and stretch the trees and make small trees and make big trees, and then paint them in a way to where there's different tones, like they gradually get darker to the lighter. There's dry brushing and texture on the trunks. The Mystery Shack logs, like the walls to the outside of the Mystery Shack, have wood grain texture on them, which isn't necessarily in the show, but it just makes it feel a little more three-dimensional and a little more realistic than the show, but still toon style, right? And that also translated into the characters. They're 2D characters, but they need to be 3D. When we started painting the 3D characters, it's kind of like you're adding your highlights and you're adding your shadows, but it still needs to look like a cartoon character. So when painting the shack, the Mystery Shack walls is there's like in the cartoon, there's only like two main colors there. But then we're adding our darks and weathering and cracks and things, so that it's like a hyper-realistic version in paint as well, where the tiling on the roof is dry brushed and feels old and aged and has more depth than just what's seen in the cartoon. We wanted to paint it in pieces, put it together, and then refine the paint, but we still needed a base to put this house on. So we started with a giant MDF base because we needed it to be hollow to house all the wiring and the components and things like that. So we started with a big old box, basically measuring out our footprint of earth that the Mystery Shack is centered in, having our groove in there for a display case to then be put on top of. We know we needed a power cable in there so that we could plug it in. We knew we wanted it to look like a chunk of earth. A case was slammed over the Mystery Shack, and then it was removed and put on display. So we wanted it to just be raw rocks and dirt and stuff. For that, we used molds of little stones and textures that we just cast resin components out of, glued them all in there like little Lego pieces, and then using freeform air, we stuffed in the cracks and using texture stamps of rocks and tinfoil and building up these ledges and building up these dirt textures. With wood glue, we coated the whole top of the base, and started sprinkling our dirt, which is just train store gravel, putting our dirt everywhere, keeping the channel for the display case clean, because we don't want dirt in that. And then patterning out where the transition between the dirt areas, like the parking lot, stuff like that, and then the grass, which is all electroflocked grass. Figuring out where's like a happy place to put all of our landmarks, and then matching like, okay, that landmark is in the grass or that landmark's in the dirt. And then we knew we wanted trees around, so the trees are obviously where all the grass is at. And then we get our electroflocker. We just found this big old electroflocker on eBay. You ground your thing on like a metal plate underneath so that the static causes all the grass to want to move down to this metal plate, and then it gets caught on the glue, sticking straight up. So that's how you get your grass looking like it's up. Otherwise, it's just kind of down. Like if you just sprinkle grass on glue, it's just flat, right? We did multiple layers of this in different tones of greens. There's kind of like a darker grass and a lighter grass and like dead grass in areas. And then you got your terrain, you got your dirt, you got your grass. And then once our terrain's done and our shack is partly assembled, then it's carefully going in order, because you don't want to have to like glue a piece of the shack on and then have to remove it because like, I jumped the gun there. I still needed access to this room. We knew we wanted the front door open, so that whole section of the shack, we 3D printed just that portion of the wall. And then we had the curtain with the museum. We had a couple taxidermy pieces, and that's where we also hid our taxidermy Grunkle Stan miniature, a little throwback to our first piece, as well as some of the gift shops. So we had some t-shirts where we hid some stuff in there. We needed to hone in how much of that room is visible and not visible. No matter how you're looking at this piece from outside the case, you're never seeing an area that you're not supposed to see. Another great example of us kind of doing that trick is for the porta potty. The porta potty's cracked open with a light inside, and there's a little gnome pooping and reading the newspaper. You look through the trees and you could see the little gnome pooping, but only if you stand in a certain spot of the Mystery Shack. With that, it's slowly assembling and gluing areas and making sure the wiring's good, all the seams are filled before we close off that section with a light, making sure the window isn't going to fall out, because if a window falls out and you don't have access to that room anymore, it's a freaking nightmare. So the trees were just a nightmare because I thought, we're just going to make the trees and then we'll just modify them to fit within the case. We hadn't built the case yet, so we didn't quite know the dimensions of what we wanted. And because of that, we just spent forever refining the trees. Our largest trees are in the corner of the case. So like this side is pushing on a tree, this side's pushing on a tree, and then the tree is pushing on the roof of the case and curving down. And even just trying to sculpturally get them to line up on these walls and ceiling of the case, as well as trying to get them to stand up straight. Like once the trees were fully painted and we placed the tree in place, you got to put the case on and then make sure it's touching and lined up properly. And then you got to cinch the tree down and glue it so it doesn't move at all.
Assuming that's rubbing?
Mm-hmm. Or it could be on the glass too, remember?
Yeah. Okay, we let that dry for like 10, 15 minutes. Then we take it off, see how durable it is, and then move on to the next one.
And then, the case rubbing up against the tree, no matter what, that's going to scuff the paint or scuff the case. Then it was the fun part, getting into the characters.
We modeled them. These are on the resin printer of the
that's amazing.
Of the characters. So they're unposed. They're just like how we sculpted them right now. And then I'm going to pose them and set them up so they're all doing something.
I went to Naty Ramos and Isabel Anderson, 2 different digital sculptors in 2 different locations. I gave them my laundry list of characters I wanted in this display. So they started working on all the main characters. We were doing Grunkle, we were doing Dipper and Mabel. Originally, we started digitally sculpting them kind of just in neutral poses. Eventually, we needed to figure out, okay, what is happening in this diorama? There needs to be a story being told. So to figure that out, we went to a wonderful concept artist here in Colorado, Celeste Hayes. Now, Celeste and me started figuring out, okay, what characters are involved in this display and what's happening and how is it spaced out as well, right?
Waddles makes sense either with this gnome here or somewhere in this area, because you've got Robbie and Wendy, but then this area is not, like, each corner having two sides. You've got the picnic here, you've got the crash here, you've got
Grunkle and Dipper going on.
Grunkle and Dipper, you've got the gnome, you've got McGrucket, you've got Toby, you've got Robbie and Wendy, but then you just have this gnome that's underneath the
Yeah, that's
porch,
true.
so something
Alright,
should
so
go
go.
right here.
So we ended up figuring out this is our square footage of the diorama. Here's where the Mystery Shack's living. Here's where the trees are living. And how do you keep something interesting happening full 360 around this building, right? Working with Celeste, we started establishing the story of this piece. So the story is, obviously we knew they're in a display case and they're trying to escape. What's the story happening with each character that fits their personality? So like Grunkle is trying to profit off the situation. So he's selling shovels and rocks and things. We see Seuss use the golf cart to ram the case, and the police officers are writing him a ticket. There's a scene with Mr. McGucket who's dug out of the case, and he's got a full tunnel and he's hanging by a rope outside the case with Gompers chewing on the rope and the rope's about to snap. There's a scene with Mabel drawing on the display case and her friends are enjoying a picnic while Waddles is digging in the picnic basket. And then also hidden in the trees is the Halloween character watching them from above. Pacifica is standing on a tree trunk throwing the crystal. She's the one who's been buying all the crystals because she's the one with the money. You got Wendy and Robbie. Robbie was sitting there playing guitar, and Wendy in her frustration has gotten his guitar and is about to smash it into the case. And then also there's other characters and things hidden throughout. There's a hidden Bill Cipher in a window who only shows up when the lights are on. And then there's our gnomes hidden throughout. So we really wanted this to feel just like an episode brought to life and frozen in time for you to just enjoy and look at. Once we had the characters sculpted and the characters are posed to the scenes that the concept art was showing, then we needed to 3D print them all. The 3D printing of the figures, we were playing with different types of resin. Now the problem is like Dipper. Dipper's legs are like skinnier than a toothpick. You print that out of standard gray resin, it just falls apart in your hand. So the resin we landed on was this tough 1500 resin from Formlabs. It was pretty darn durable. So we printed all of our characters out of the tough 1500 resin for painting these little figures. I had started, and it was a nightmare, but one of our artists here, Shaylin Terry, turned out to be an incredible miniature painter. She just had a great knack for getting those tiny paper-thin brushes and painting beautiful little highlights and shadows. And Shay spent a good month just painting all these little things and little accessories, along with Graham Hickman. Both of them, both Graham and Shay, spent a good month or so just painting all the little accessories and all the little characters. I mean, the accessories were trash cans and shovels and rakes and pieces of plywood. And then we had the last minute idea of having mushrooms everywhere. So we had these little tiny mushrooms. Another one of our artists, Layne Hoke, spent a while painting little dots on little tiny mushrooms that are like the tiniest things you've ever seen. And Madi Lyn was painstakingly recreating banners and posters and looking at scenes with like all the little posters on the wood board and photoshopping them, scaling them down to just the right proper scale, and then cutting them out and gluing them on the little 3D printed signs and things. So once everybody has finished painting all the characters and all the accessories and things, then we just start buying up foliage and bushes and plants and flowers. We even made a bunch of just sticks and branches and things. Working from the inside out, like a spiral essentially, all along the Mystery Shack needs to be overgrown bushes and weeds. You don't want to like do the stuff on the outside and then be like trying to reach over and you're just freaking knocking characters down and you're like messing up bushes. So you start from the inside out and you carefully are placing everything. That was where it was really like starting to come to life. And even at the last minute, a week before we were about to deliver it, we were still adding characters. Like Susan was an interesting character, so she's just taking a break from digging her hole trying to escape the diorama as well. And then the hide behind, right? He was kind of a last minute thing that we blasted out, sneaking behind Toby and just adding all these little things to find.
Because I don't know where to put the books either. Like Dipper's sort of holding book 3,
Yeah.
but where do we hide book 1 and 2? Because they're supposed to be hidden. I don't know where. Where do you hide them? Just behind bushes or something?
I know Gideon had one of them, but he's already,
Part of me was thinking maybe like in the tunnel of McGucket. You see McGucket hanging, the lantern's here. What if it's like all the way inside of the tunnel? So you can only see it if you look in. You see like the book sitting in the dirt.
That could be cool, yeah.
Bill was a last minute thing. Bill is just a silhouette that was 3D printed so small. Once you turn the lights on, he's like a very faint shadow in a window. Just all those little things were just so much fun to like think of and piece together. And we're just working late nights, just sitting here gluing bushes and stuff. So once the piece is fully like assembled, there are also like trees and components of this diorama that are outside of the case that can only be placed in once the case is in place. But the problem is that one, this piece cannot be shipped. It is way too fragile and there's too much stuff going on.
All right. Hold on. Got it?
Yeah.
Slower? Slow. Let me catch up to you. Here, let me catch up. Hold it. Stop. Stop pushing.
I'm stopping.
All right,
I'm not
there.
holding it.
Cut
I'm
up.
not pushing it.
Down. Not watching. And his hand is gone.
It's called something over here.
So it's a road trip. And if something's gonna go wrong, it's gonna go wrong during the road trip when this thing's vibrating for 10 hours straight. So we can only take the piece so far before we had to just box it all up, box up a repair kit, box up backup lights, box up glue and touch-up paint, and then drive this thing to California. And then once we get to California, we do a double check to make sure everything's fine, place the case, and then glue our trees and our final foliage all the way around, basically solidifying everything into a final piece. And then that's when we get to finally deliver it.
And there you go.
Let's see what madness you have created. Oh my god.
Ridiculous.
What?
Ridiculous.
This is insane.
I'm sorry.
Good lord. Oh my god. What? Oh my, and the lights and all the little characters and all the little stories that are happening here. You've got Seuss has crashed the Mystery Shack cart into the wall and he's sneaking away while the police take inventory. You got Gideon digging up journals, looking for journals. Grunkle Stan selling tools and escape. Oh my gosh, we got the head that looks like a face. We've got Lazy Susan just digging underground, maybe looking for pies that were buried. What you've got Pacifica, and is she smashing the glass with like diamonds that she's pilfered from the earth? Oh my God, what? Mabel, Candy, and Grenda having a little tea party. This is crazy.
Isn't that awesome?
These tiny little. How'd you even draw that small?
Insane, right?
You even got a caricature there that so many specific details. Waddles in the picnic basket. This is like.
It's funny because there's so much more you're missing.
This is an adventure. I can't even believe.
Thing going on.
There's an entire buried gobblewonker poking its head from under the ground. This is my favorite part of the entire thing so far. McGucket climbing out with his little lantern. This is magical, man. Wendy is about to smash Robbie's guitar. Holy. Each one of these little bits of lighting, like how do you even wire that? Like what even is
brutal.
that?
It's brutal.
Like the planning involved in this thing? I don't even know. How did you map this out? How did you like conceive of this?
Yeah, it's really bad. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done.
But don't you make everything the hardest thing you've ever done? Okay, wait a minute. Gnome equals 8, book equals 3, KK equals 1, bill equals 1. I think what you're communicating is there's some kind of code or some kind of puzzle in this thing.
I'm gonna find something.
There's a hiding behind the totem pole, which is exactly where the hide behind belongs. Oh my gosh, this little keep out hole. Let's see what this thing is. What is this?
So that is for your lighting.
Amazing.
So we can kick the lights off and keep the lights on.
let me enjoy this. Wait, here. On, off.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Just to set the mood.
these trees, these like specific sort of Gravity Falls shaped trees, which is like a very particular type of tree that is not easy to assemble.
The trees were the hardest part.
I could tell just looking at them. Like, this is a very specific and difficult.
Quite literally years of sanding.
Oh my god, like, just like all the little bits of like weathering, like the specificity on this. Like, you are knocking me on my dude. You can see right
4 years.
through. This is crazy. This is a full-blown work of art. Like, I need to get this in front of human beings immediately. The best. Unbelievable.
Thank you.
Stunning. I want to share it with everybody. I want to sell tickets to take a little tour.
So this project was definitely a journey. Through Creature Kid, Mystery Shack has always been a thing on a table in the shop that we've slowly been chipping away at. And to finally be able to have it done and presented to Alex, I mean, it's an incredible piece. I'm so proud of it. So thank you guys so much for watching the creation of the Mystery Shack diorama. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below.